Hi, we're Robo Lego San Diego, and our favorite space explorer is Jim Lovell, captain of the Apollo 13 mission. By keeping a cool head and using engineering principles, he led his crew back to Earth. Conquering almost impossible odds, he was and still is a great American hero.
April 11th, 1970, the Apollo 13 mission was launched into space. 3 brave men made up the crew. They were Jim Lovell as captain, Jack Swigert as command module pilot, and Fred Hayes as lunar module pilot. 2 days and 200,000 miles into their voyage, the number 2 oxygen tank in the service module exploded. This also caused a leak in oxygen tank 1, and over the next 130 minutes, oxygen was slowly released into space, completely depleting the service module's supply. Additionally, the shock from the explosion left only 1 of the 3 fuel cells operational, leaving the command module on limited stored battery power and borrowed time. After the malfunction, however, the heroics began. NASA and the Apollo 13 crew jumped into action. The mission to land on the moon was immediately aborted, and plans to get the astronauts home using the moon's gravitational sphere of influence were drawn up. The idea was that the astronauts could use the moon's gravitational pull to redirect themselves back to Earth. The plan worked flawlessly and conserved critical fuel and resources needed for survival. Because the damaged fuel cells no longer supplied power to the command module, the crew shut it down completely and moved into the lunar module, which they would use as a lifeboat to make their way back to Earth. This idea had been suggested during an earlier training mission, but was never thought to be needed. Amazingly, the concept to use the lunar module as a lifeboat saved the lives of the crew. However, because the lunar module was only designed for 2 people for 2 days, and not for 3 people for 4 days, a lack of resources, such as electrical power, was a constant concern. A lack of carbon scrubbers, apparatuses that remove carbon dioxide from the air, was an especially mortal concern. Without the scrubbers, the crew would literally suffocate in their own CO2. Ironically, carbon scrubber canisters were plentiful in the command module, but they were incompatible with the lunar module hookup. Engineers down on Earth worked tirelessly to create a contraption that would connect the cube-shaped command module canisters with the cylindrical canister sockets of the lunar module. Using extreme ingenuity, hard work, and perseverance, they finally did it. Their end product, nicknamed the Mailbox, was then replicated by the Apollo 13 crew. The creation successfully removed the carbon dioxide and saved the crew's life. The Mailbox is truly one of the great feats of high-pressure life-and-death engineering, and it is what science and technology is all about. Finally, before re-entry, the Apollo 13 powered up the command module, moved back in, and jettisoned the service module and lunar module. The 4-minute re-entry period was soon initiated, and Apollo 13 entered the Earth's atmosphere. Not knowing how extensive the damage from the oxygen tank explosion was, the tension was almost tangible during the re-entry communication blackout period, and heightened when the silence lasted 33 seconds longer than calculated. Thankfully, 4 minutes later, the crew regained radio contact and safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, 4 miles from the recovery ship USS Iwo Jima. All of the crew was in good condition, and their safe return marked one of NASA's finest moments. The Apollo 13 mission shows just how important engineering, science, and technology is. They are what sent 3 men into space, and they are what brought 3 men back. Jim Lovell is a great example of how the application of science and technology in a tough time can put you ahead, and in his case be the difference between life and death. In an almost hopeless situation, Jim Lovell brought back hope. By staying cool and working hard throughout the ordeal, he inspired hope in his crew and brought them safely back to Earth. By accomplishing what most thought was impossible, Jim Lovell awarded NASA one of its finest moments, as well as one of the USA's finest moments. He is a hero never to be forgotten who used science, technology, and engineering to change the destiny of Apollo 13.